Hello people, and welcome back to part 26 of Ilos, our modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And last week's episode we answered the question, can you polish a turd in Cities Skylines? And I think the answer was yes. Really happy with our sort of mass garbage, sewage and cargo processing area right at the start of the city. I think it came out quite nicely, didn't it? Really nice traffic too, love the little intersection markings we did. With some node controller work as always, really happy with this sort of stuff. However, in today's episode we are going to head back to the downtown project to work on this little bit of land over here, which is currently occupied by generic suburbia, but all of this will be being deleted today. We're going to clear all this out. All these residents are going to have to be relocated over to the east side of the city. So of course we're back in the downtown, which means we're working with real life inspiration. So let's head over to Phoenix and see what's happening today. And welcome back to Phoenix, everyone. So this is what we're working with today, is the Japanese Friendship Garden of Phoenix. Some really nice park activity going on, some new buildings, some really interesting road networks that we're going to try and do with Move It and a little bit of node controller. Lots of downtown condos, and indeed, really weirdly, a multi-story car park fused between condo buildings. This is really weird. I've never seen anything like this before. So it's a vibe we can respect anyway in Cities Skylines. We can certainly do this with the mods and the assets that we have. But really the meat and potatoes is this big park area today. We've got some sort of embanked path layers, which should be quite nice to play with. Some repeated rock decoration. Also it looks to be kind of a giant rabbit here. There is no street view here, unfortunately, so we can't see it, but it does look like a giant rabbit, right? Pretty sure it does. But, you know, some nice car parking, some nice open green space within the downtown, some water sources, and all this is sat on top of a tunneled highway, which we currently have in Ilos, but we can certainly bring these vibes in towards the city. And this should be quite a nice transition kind of out of downtown Phoenix as we eventually head towards Main Street, which will be this big long road here as we start to build to the right of the Mar grid in Ilos. So, some nice ideas and really unique builds in store today. Let's see what we can do with the Ilos Friendship Garden, shall we? So what I want to get started with here first is actually the orientation and the position of the condos, because these lie right next to the skyline, and then this will allow us to transition into the park area. So I'm just going to start by snapping to the road guideline of the highway roads, which is our main bit of infrastructure. So we'll have these here for right now, and then I want to make sure there's a distance of 6 units between these two roads, and then we're going to make a perfect box of 6 here, and we're essentially going to manually draw in a roundabout, which is going to be quite interesting. Okay, so change our directions up, and then just using Move It, I just want to grab the center of the segment and then just bend them out, which is going to give us sort of a mock roundabout. Then using a little bit of node controller with the connecting nodes, we can straighten everyone off, and then just offset everyone to perhaps about 14 meters. Seems to be a nice happy medium, and that's just going to open that node out for us and essentially make a roundabout that isn't quite a roundabout, right? It's kind of a different design on it, but it's going to do us a job for what we need to happen today. So straighten these off. Then we want to grab a road now that can actually hold the condo complexes in. So we're going to come straight up here, and then hopefully we can just connect straight into the main road. We'll leave it there for right now. Now we do have a lot of condo assets in our collection already within the low density pool. So I want to grab a couple of these. Let's go for about some of these. We'll use different sort of styles and types today as well. And let's just bring this onto sort of the corner of the roundabout here. This is where these sit. And then we can just copy and paste them up. So that's a configuration that I'm happy with. Okay. Just sort of merging them into each other. And then let's copy and paste these. We will hold Alt while we spin them around, so we stay on that perfect axis, and then just decide exactly where and how we want them linking into each other. And then we'll grab the whole condo block now with Move It, and then just slide it into position exactly where we want it to sit against the road. Now this should give us one block of condos, okay, which is a little more appropriate sort of downtown high density housing, isn't it? I think I'm going to be happy with this initial idea. So we can do this, and again there's lots of little sort of forecourt detail in here. We can have perhaps a little community pool for the people living in the condos. Again, all ideas to be fleshed out during our detail and time lapse, of course. Alright, Very nice. I think I'm also happy to have perhaps a touch of sandy surface painter within the centre of the roundabouts as well. Although we do want to be careful with exactly how much this bleeds in though. And then there's detailing opportunities to be had there as well, isn't there? Very nice. So, I'm happy with this one. This is going to be good for me for what I want to happen for right now. Step back into the world of Ploppable Rico and pick out another apartment block now. How about we go for these Hamilton Crossing apartments? And then again, referring back to our inspiration on Google Earth, we can see that indeed we have a multi-story unit that is tethered into these really strangely. I've never seen anything like that before, for multi-story to be tethered into the side of a condo complex like this. But we can certainly bring it in. Again, so we'll go for a larger block here. Same thing on the other side again. We'll worry about sort of final positionings and finagling assets together so they sort of actually look sensible. But for right now, we just want to set up a general sort of base frame. Copy and paste this one around too. And then we'll grab this in. So we actually have the perfect multi-story car park asset already in the city. We can just go ahead and grab it. It's not this one that I want. It's the one over by the governor's offices. Yes, this one here. So, and it's literally just doing this, isn't it? It is quite literally sat within the middle of a condo complex, just having a car park. It feels massively unnatural doing this in cities, but again, you know, when we're looking at real life inspiration, indeed we have to respect what we find, and that is what we find, right? Condos and car parks. Let's go ahead and grab the entire block now. And then we can just slide it into position, and then we can have it here. And then once you've got these blocks designed, you can copy and paste them, switch out their angles, change out a couple of assets if you want, but once you've got one, you can then just sort of leave them to sit in with the rest of the build, alright? Wonderful. So I'm really happy with the way this is looking. From all sides now, even from sort of the inside of the downtown, we can see that things are looking a little bit more high density, aren't they? It's a little bit more appropriate for the area. And I'm happy with this sort of design for right now, at least anyway. So we will be using a fair amount of grass today, which I'm sure will please the grass people tremendously. And we've got grass that runs through these sort of main areas. And then really it's just a sort of a collection of our favourite palms and sort of slightly more tropical themed trees like we've seen before. It's like an Ilos driver is slightly confused there. So little palms through here. We'll mix and match different types too. There's also some sort of, you know, greener looking trees. We're going to get some live oaks within this space here as well today, I think. Jump into our content creator stuff. There we go. And then maybe some pink jackies as well, just to help bring a little splash of colour into the green ocean. Let's give them a road connection, first of all. So I think what I am actually going to do here is just trim off a touch of the road network this side. And just because it's easier for me to align this particular road network with this one over here, that's going to give me the best connectivity, isn't it? So let's slide everyone over. We'll pick up this road. And then this can now come straight up and into the downtown. That's one connection for us. And then we'll probably do the next roundabout design off of this road here. So let's bring that down. And then we can start to prepare for that to happen. So let's come back into our little 1 unit roads here. Of course, our service painter will need to move. That's absolutely fine. And then let's have a little look-see. So really from the central point here, we want to come out by 3 units each side. That's exactly what we want. And then there should be 6 down here, 6 across, and then 6 back up. Wonderful. That's exactly what we had the first time. There we go. Let's configure our directions. So I did try to find a way to do this with Node Controller during the testing, but I couldn't really sort of figure it out. It was a little bit awkward. Let's actually make sure we draw out the connecting roads over this side as well, which will eventually feed into this over here, which will change of course today. So quite a unique way of doing roundabouts, I think. We do have an extra node in there though, and we want to delete that just while we do the move it adjustments. There we go. And then this will now feed directly down and into the roundabout design. This please. Cool. So hopefully you can see the thought process here of taking inspiration from a local road network in Phoenix and then just bring in some of those ideas into Cities Skylines as well. It's going to allow us to do some pretty cool things here today, I think, isn't it? Wonderful. So of course we saw in Phoenix that the highway sinks down here, and we actually have started to do that already in this space. I'm thinking we're just going to possibly tunnel these 2 sections as well. Then I just want to grab that node there and position the highway tunnel so it's just about level. That should give us what we're after. There we go. Okay, so much more room to work with now, right up until this space. So essentially the park is going to fill this entire space out front, so let's go ahead and greenify the entire thing. Now, I imagine what I'm thinking is going to happen here as Ilos sort of grows and the downtown merges with the Margrid more and more every week, that this big space here is essentially going to become sort of a big green park belt between downtown and Margrid, all surrounding the highway interchange, which should be quite nice. We'll definitely do some work sort of over in these spaces during our streams. But I hope you all agree that sort of a nice big parkland here, almost like a central park in a way, but not quite to the scale of something in New York. It will be quite a nice addition into the city. Lots more green space, certainly. So, did the rail line last time as well. I also want to use the fine road tools in order to sink this down also. So let's start upgrading you into tunnel from probably about here. And then that should be okay, I think. Nope. That is awful. Let's amend this. There we go. Just want to sink that down a little bit. So cool, yeah, we're just sort of sinking down here now. And then where we do get the awkward terrain, we can just level that out back to the level that everyone's sat at now. Fantastic. There we go. So this gives us nice big green spaces to work with. So let's get these roads hooked in here. And then we can start to work on that main section ourselves. So now to connect these roads in, we're going to come in with a 2-lane road with trees. We'll come out from this point, that should be okay. We'll do a little more node controller here as well. Alongside bringing everyone into this connection. Let's remove some of the trees that we've placed so we can see what we're doing. Go into node controller now, and there will be a fair bit of work we can do here. Let's go ahead and square off red, and we probably want to offset this as well a little bit. Yes, there we go. I'm also going to hide the markings on red as well. That should be good, and then we can change our directions. And then we can detail this up during our detail and timelapse, of course, make it fit in a little more organically with the space. But otherwise, that's not going to be too bad, I don't think. Okay, wonderful. So we've got this big open plaza designed, ready to be developed now. So there's a unique building I want in here, and this is going to be the Resort Hotel from the Japanese Content Creator Pack. So we're going to place it against the back road so we can use that as a positioning frame. And then really, it's kind of where we want this to sit now. Pretty central, I imagine, within the overall park design, making sure we're not encroaching upon the road behind. And that should give us just enough room for what we want, I think. I think that should be okay. I think we will actually sort of consider the placement of the entry road system here. So why don't we keep it in a one-way loop? There's no reason why not. And then we should just be able to bring it directly up and into this one, exactly like we have over the other side. Right? It's not quite sat centrally within the road network, but centralization isn't a major talking point of the build today. I'm happy with that. So immediately outside of the main building within the Friendship Garden is actually a little lake, which is something we can certainly respect in Cities Skylines. So let's come on to our small brush sizes and smaller brush strengths as well. It's going to be fairly shallow. It's kind of like a little koi pond. But of course we don't have any koi props on Cities Skylines, so probably won't bring any koi into it. Yeah, so just have it right up against it, and then I want to kind of cut out like a shape here. It's not all sort of, it's not like a regular circle, right? It's a different shaped lake, some different islands in it, which should be quite fun, I think. Let's bring this out here. Let's cut out a general shape for us. Okay, I'm going to be enjoying this for the most part, I think. Let's grab another height and then just place in a little island in the middle so we can do some sort of palms and rocks around here. Then we will come into water capacity. We're going to drop this down to 0.01. Pause the game, place it down, and then drag it into position where it should now hopefully fill our little lake once it's in. We'll probably ungrass the bottom of the lake as well, because it does look a little bit weird sometimes when you do that. But this should be a really nice water source feature for the downtown, especially now we've got trains running past it too, thanks to the Transport Hub episode a couple of weeks ago. It's very nice seeing Ilos' downtown come alive, isn't it? I hope you're all enjoying it as much as I am. Alright. But what a wonderful little friendly lake design that is, right? Some happy water for us all to enjoy. So we also have some car parking immediately outside of this space as well, so let's have a little look at that. Again, in the continued campaign to save the nodes of Ilos, we are going to stick with parking lot roads instead of big parking lots. Even though I much prefer big parking lots, but I can't. I can't continue to justify them. So some pretty shallow parking, nothing major. I think we're just going to go with a real simple 22 meter one. Okay, so let's actually measure the distance of this here. Let's come in by, I think 40 units is probably going to be ideal, and there's a couple of little service roads here as well. That's going to be the halfway point of 20, and then we'll bring those in. And that's going to give us our front car parking. Let's go ahead and get these spaces settled in so people can actually start to park and enjoy this space. We'll of course prioritise our disabled friends to sit up at the front. We'll give these guys sort of 3 spots each. There we go. And then let's drag these in. Cool. And then we'll throw in the rest of our spaces too. And then we can have a look at sort of the main park feature around here. Oh, look at this. Welcome to Ilos. Jesus. Can we name him? His home is a building. His occupation is also a building. And his status is building. He's confused, clearly. There he goes anyway. Driving across the water. There we go. He has the power of flight and can heal leopards. Alright, let's bring this in. And then we'll be right back to discuss some park stuff as well. We are having a day of heavy Ilos drivers today. I wonder where this one's going. Again, home building, occupation building, status building. I think I saw something like this on Reddit. It's not clearly confused. Okay, but it's alright. Let's not worry too much about it. Oh, let's not go to nighttime. It's not what I wanted to do. Due to turn our time of day off though. Wonderful. Okay, so let's work on the park entrance here, shall we? So we're going to throw in a park gate. Let's come in for City Park 1. Now we're using the gateless entrances. Yes, but I think I actually want the aesthetic of a park gate here. So I'm going to go with a small park main one. Let's go and drag this across. So I want this to sit right at the tip of the car parks here. That's going to be great. Let's go ahead and get the park area painted out and named after one of our Patreon subscribers. So we've gone for the Lauren J Friendship Garden. Thank you so much for your Patreon support, Lauren. You are a real secret blend of herbs and spices. I hope you enjoy this build named after your good self. So now what I'd like to do is bring in this kind of little embanked pathway that we're seeing in the park area itself. So I'm going to grab a zoo path and we're just going to force this to ground with the road tools. And with a very slight elevation, we can get an impression of what this is going to look like. And I think I'm happy with that, okay? So, first of all, I want to make sure that we have a path connection into the playgrounds and detailing that will sit in this space before the sort of wavy park comes over it. So let's elevate up to a distance of 6 meters. Are we happy with that? Yes, I think that's fairly sensible. We'll go with 6 meters. Then, I just want to start bringing in some nice gentle freeform curves around this now. And this should be a really interesting park area. We're going to come on with no collision either. Okay, and what we'll do is upgrade this into a bridge as well, once we come back to it. And then we'll just have this meander around. And then we do start coming back down to earth around here. Now I'm seeing centralization develop. Do I want to centralize the hotel? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll have to make a judgment call on that one. Then also what's happening here in Phoenix is that the tram road actually becomes a bridge here. And then what I do want to do is actually grab a touch more terraforming. And then I'm going to grab the bottom of the lake here. Just give ourselves a little more breathing room. And then I just want to give a little cutaway under the tram bridge, because people in Phoenix can actually move back and to between the 2 different sides of the road without having to come back on the road. So the park this side's going to be fairly shallow. We'll probably fill it out with some buildings. Might reco some campus buildings today as well. Okay, so let's grab ourselves the elevated zoo path again. We'll come back into a false elevation. And we want to upgrade into elevated, which is going to give us something that looks a little bit like that. But I definitely want this to be positioned perfectly. So let's use move it to get it right over the pathway in as small a spacing as possible. And then a little bit of soften now is going to go a massive long way to just bringing this into the build a little bit more. Okay. So how about that? Some new interesting part designs using some road anarchy stuff. I'm going to be on board with it, I think. At least for the time being. Alright. Let's go ahead and complete the path network. For which I'm thinking we will stay elevated for a small section here. Before we sort of start coming back down. There we go. That's kind of perfect for what I wanted. And then come back down to total ground now. And then just allow the zoo path to sort of become part of the park, if you will. And then we'll also throw in a park side gate over here as well for us to connect into. And this should give everyone some nice bits of walkability around the area. So what we also have out this side of Phoenix is there's more generic sort of low density outer lying suburbia within these spaces here. So we'll definitely fill out some of this in our detailing time lapse today, just so we can see people sort of coming back and to from this area. Now I'd also like the trams to stop here too, although this tram point probably will end up changing a fair amount. I actually think we might actually do this in this build. This would be a good point to do this. Yes, it would. So let's do that now. We will allow the mile grid trams to stop here. So let's grab ourselves a one-way tram road. And I guess there's no point why we can't feed it out the back of the car parks here. Feed it in a one-way loop, and then this tram line now, which comes over this direction. No, it's this one, isn't it? Yes, it is this one. Yeah, there we go. So we'll have that there. And then, not that there's vast amounts of convergence happening here anyway, because there's nothing here, but eventually there will be. But we don't need to worry about that right now. That is a future eggs problem. Alright. But already, it's looking pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's probably a little bit too deep to be fair. Let's grab a slightly higher contour line. There we go. Then we'll just trim that back, and then we can come down onto a different layer here. Which again, you know, for such a flat map like Ilos, it's going to give us some nice differentiation, I think, isn't it? Make sure not to expose our sunken transport lines, though. That's very much a vibe we don't want to bring in. Same over here as well with the sunken tunnels. No, thank you. Okay, and then we can get some more people walking back onto it from this way. It's going to give us a nice border between road and rail, having some nice parkland down here. And also back up onto this level as well. Okay, but not too bad for right now. Let's go ahead and draw in a fence around our park gates, and then we can have a look at some internal part detailing as well. It is a bad day for Ilos drivers. Oh my word. It's really bad. Today the people have absolutely no care in the world. I assume it's coming to park here. Yes, there we go. Okay. The Ilos, yeah. A really bad day for Ilos drivers today. Oh, there's another one. We're going to have to fix this. I think we want a road through the car park, don't we? Through the multi-story. That's gonna that's gonna help fix the issues. Oh, I need to stop looking at that. It's hilarious. Right. So we got some little fencing around the entranceway now. So we do also have a metro line under here too. For which I'm thinking that a little bit of content creator stations are going to work tremendously well. So we'll shatter the metro connection here. And then we're going to bring in this one right here. Let's come ahead and grab our tunnels. Fantastic. And then we should just be able to pop in a couple of stops here. And that's going to be good for us, I think, isn't it? Okay, so we can definitely factor this into the park area too. And let's come in now and start to bring the park area to a close, at least on this tier. So I'm just going to we'll come back down to earth on this side. This can be under around the lake now. And there's some more car parking activity to be had over this side too, which we'll look at in a minute. And then it would be really nice now if we could bring in just a little sort of Y triangle intersection off of the sections here. Although that is not appropriate, is it? Let's try that again. There we go. That's slightly more what I'm after. And then we use a little bit of node controller here and just widen this node out. Give a little bit more importance to the path network that develops in this area today. And then, of course, we actually want to make sure that all these nodes here are sort of on the same level as our road. There we go. Wonderful. So I'm aware that this will function as a entrance into the park without a gate. We could throw another gate in here if we wanted to, but it's not really a park life cheese. Only at the main entrance, really. I want the aesthetic of these sort of marble pillars sat here too. Okay, so I also want to bring in some more campus assets into this district as well today. So some nice assets from the liberal arts stuff that are going to work really nicely for a build like this, including but not limited to stuff like the art club, which we can definitely squeeze in along here. I think we'll definitely bring this campus area down too. There are some sort of little outbuildings within the park as well. It's not all just sort of open space, so we'll see what vibes that we can respect today. So let's go for perhaps an art club on the corner. And I think we can definitely spin this around, can't we? And I like to sit against our path network so people aren't glitching through the fence. Although there is actually a little side entrance there, isn't there? Looks like there is, but we'll factor that in come the detail and time lapse anyway. Next building I want in here is also the Liberal Arts Library, if we can find it. There we go. So again, we've got some sort of big chungus assets within the camp, within the sort of park area itself, and I think that the library is going to be a good shout for it. But I think certainly we want some parking lot roads in order to position this. So let's upgrade the road on the side of the hotel into service road. And then I think we'll stick pretty much to 22 meter lots today. We also want a road length and an angle snap for this too. Yeah, that's going to be nice. And then this should allow the placement of our liberal arts library a little bit easier. So I definitely would just want this to be twisted on an angle. Although it looks like it might actually struggle with its connection ever so slightly. But it looks like we can leave it registered as the connection on that orientation, which actually should work out perfectly. Which a little bit of surface painter within the spaces here, and we can do some planters and other sort of finaglable detailing out here as well. But that's going to be nice, I think, isn't it? Also gives us some more car parking within the park as well. And then again, referring back to Google Earth, we actually might as well just make this entirely service road now, right? Yeah, that's going to be the best choice, I think, isn't it? And then again, we'll come in with a smaller car park. Let's just go for this one right here. Okay, that's going to give us some nice new car parking spaces in and around the park. Very nice. Let's do some slope terrain now, because I would like to start factoring in this side of the park as well. We'll increase our brush strengths. Let's just go for a nice little slope like that. We'll also come back into our terrain tools and begin to paint out some more grasses over this side too. There we go. And then we'll grab ourselves some zoo pathway. Looks like we can just come straight out here again, and we'll do some nice sort of node controller work in this space as well. Let's bring this right the way under. Yeah, we've got more than enough head clearance there. No one should be sort of banging their head. We should be okay. And then I'd like another campus asset to sit on this corner of the road as well. For which I'm thinking, is it the auditorium? Yes, the auditorium is a tremendously nice building. So let's go ahead and paint that campus area out to this side as well. So essentially like a park campus here. Now, so if you're going to be using the same processes here, of essentially repurposing campus assets as downtown buildings, then you can reco them so they become other assets. Because I'm just have so much education demand in this, so much education supply in the city at the minute, rather. So it's almost too much at this point. So we might reco some of these into residential or commercial. Okay, but I'm a very huge fan of all the sort of red style buildings that come with the liberal arts stuff. I definitely want this factored into the campus here as well. Okay, so again, orientation's everything. I do like these sort of exposed glass planes on the front of it. Or panes rather, not planes. Okay, and then we'll slope this out. Let's bring our brush size down a touch. There we go, just so it's a little smoother. Grab our little zoo pathway. And then we can bring this up and around now. And this should give us sort of a nice aesthetic of people walking directly alongside the railway. Which again is essentially another little layer of transport height, isn't it? So we'll bring that pathway across. That's going to allow the campus asset to remain connected. I'm going to be happy with that, I think. And again, it's all about orientation, right? We're still respecting a crawling height here. Even from most angles, we're still seeing it sort of pop up. So, all these little builds that now surround the skyline essentially become part of the skyline in a way, right? Just want to make sure that we allow them to sit here as organically as possible. Cool. I think I'm happy with that. So zoo assets would also be really welcome here. Things like the birdhouse. Really nice satisfying assets. Let's make sure we set this to a height though. There we go. So I think I'm on board with the birdhouse. Could do with the birdhouse for that bird that's pecking my window at the minute. I don't think I'm totally averse to a flamingo enclosure either. In this space we have actually left tree anarchy on, so we'll have to forest brush that a little bit. But again, that should be okay. Yeah, so let's have some flamingos in here too, and then I want to just come in with a little bit of soften now and just re-soften that terrain out that we've lost due to the placement of the new building, and then also allow some new water spaces to develop with the terraforming too. There we go. I'm interested to see if there's anyone grabbing the metro line yet. So there's a few people coming and going, does it? Or are they walking back and to the tram? It could be the tram connection, to be fair. Alright, but you know, we can detail this up as well. Surround this with some commercial. It should be quite nice. So further park assets. So we could use props to detail this, and we certainly will to an extent, because if we search for gazebos, we have these really cute workshop ones that we used a while ago once we come down to a singular bush size. Yeah, so these little gazebos here, and we have these kind of sat against the car park. And we kind of put them in a little pattern of 3, if you will. And it's just little installations like this that occupy this space now, with trees and whatnot. But to the original point, I also want to make sure that we include lots of regular park life assets in here as well. So we actually see people coming to make use of this park. It's not just here for sort of aesthetic purposes, alright? Again, we want to grab move it, set our control and height to the same height as the node. That should bring everyone back down to the same playing field. There we go. Go ahead and grab that park pathway. And then we can just bring him around now to allow his connection. And then maybe even run some sort of bottom tier pathways here if we like, before it jumps back up into the super path node, which again can be stretched out. So it looks nice and important and big like that, okay? Lots of planter detailing around the edge here. It should keep everyone nice and happy. We are also going to have to deal with the fact that the assets here want power. It's probably going to be, imagine, a synchronization job with earthquake sensors through the middle, but we should be okay. Shouldn't be too bad, I don't think. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So let's have a look at this tram line now. So I would ideally like to concrete brush these spaces within the middle, and we can talk about some sort of park frontage detailing if we like. Let's go ahead and get a nice healthy dose of surface painted down. Likewise over here as well. We will have to be careful with the tram line though. That one's going to be a little more awkward, but hopefully nothing that we can't handle. And then I know exactly which ones we want now. We want to search for shelters, and this should bring us up. So let's dive into the downtown. So we could use our classic little tram shelters here to highlight the stops, which I think we will do that also. But I'm after a particular type of asset here. This one right here. We want the little planters here, don't we? Whatever they're called. Which ones are these? Concrete rooftop. There we go. Yes. So I think we'll stick these on a prop line tool, of course, with no linear fence fill for an asset like this. So if I auto default and come up to about 25 meters, this should be okay. A little bit something like that. Okay, and then rather having to sort of redo this shape here with the trying to eye them up in the same spaces, let's grab everything and then just come to a mirror function with move it, select the segment of the road, and it's going to throw them perfectly mirrored on the other side. I'm going to be happy with that, I think. Let's then come into some of our benches, and we're playing with quite a few different styles now, and I think that the liberal arts bench is always a firm favourite, isn't it? I think it is. So if we bring these in here, we should be able to actually align them perfectly with the posts of the concrete rooftops, which is exactly what we want to do. But there's always the dissatisfaction there that no one's ever actually going to go and sit on them, right? It's all props. It's not functional. Set up some of our planters now. Let's see what we've got going on. We have a triangle one. This one's quite cute, isn't it? But probably not the vibe we want for these spaces. Again, I think a prop line tool now with the fill in the middle is going to be more than welcome. Let's go for a small, perhaps. Yeah, I think definitely a small. So we'll bring these up through the middle. So once you've got your... and you could just do this on one side and then copy and paste it all over like we did at the start, but of course we like to make things difficult. Okay, so let's come back into our trees now, and why don't we find... again, perhaps a tree that we don't often see that much, but I do sort of think that palms are going to be the most appropriate things here. If not, a touch of the old faithful juniper for detail in the front of our park space here. Let's bring some of these in and see what we think. Okay, I think there's a little bit of park frontage now just to sit outside the car parks and again against the main road. Indeed, with trams coming and going from this point now. This should give us quite a nice aesthetic and sort of a park entrance, right? And I'm very much happy with how the sort of little embanked pathway here has given us just a nice little layer of depth, which is really appreciated. And also some people choosing to walk back and through the park now, which is great. So he's going to head down. That's a little bit steep, isn't it? We'll need to sort that out. There we go. Not too bad. Not too bad. Certainly an idea that can be expanded in a detail in time-lapse, of course. So let's work on getting the rest of these condo complexes hooked in now. We'll come on to angle and roll length snaps. Okay, looks like it wants to be slightly twisted around, doesn't it? Not too much though, we should be okay there. And then we'll give these ones connections in and around the back too. Okay, so I think we can afford one more. We do have some really nice repeatable patterns here with the City Commons ones. And these actually have kind of like parking garages on the back, so I'm quite keen to respect the garage, if you will, for lack of a better phrase here. And I think we can probably... looks like we're, what, 2 tiles deep there? If we were to grab one of these and position it in, you know, this is what's nice about cities. You can see a little new opportunity present itself. Yeah, okay, let's have those. So we'll go for a little pattern of these. These are City Commons ones. There's many different sort of little condo assets you can find on the workshop. Some really nice ones too. And I think it's something that's missing from Cities Skylines. Almost like a medium density residential, if you like. You know, it's not quite a tower block and it's not just a single story house. It is a block of apartments. Again, maybe something that can be addressed in Cities Skylines too. Into our one-way roads, or little one-unit roads anyway. And I think I'm just going to grab the one-unit one here. Yes, we are. Let's snap into the grid. Yep, and then we'll bend that in. We can use this to come out the back. That's going to be great. Where we do have some issues here, let's come in with node controller. And we're going to shift out the orange node. There we go. It does look like it's got a tiny little node. Let's remove that one there. There we go. And then that should give us a little bit more flexibility now. Yes, there we go. Cool. And then, yeah, just shift it, square everyone off, and then a little bit of offsetting. But we're going to hide the junctions here as well, just so it's within the same node, and we definitely don't want traffic lights through these spaces either. This is all just residential developments. This is absolutely fine. Okay, and then I'm thinking we can use the little access road behind here. That is essentially, you know, access roads for the parking garages on the back of the condos. So again, we can use move its mirror function. Mirror objects directly opposite the road. And I think that's going to be good for us, alright? I think we're going to be happy with that. I'll definitely lose the connection here though. Let's bring this back down. And then if we leave it there and actually replicate one condo on the back, we should actually be able to essentially line it up as though it's the end of the road into the parking garage. There we go. It's like I might want to bob off one of the recycling bins, but otherwise I think we should be okay. Alright, not too bad. The suburb is burning it down in the background. Hopefully the file services aren't too far away from coming to fix that. So again, now in Phoenix, on the opposite side of these sort of condo blocks, We very much do move back into sort of outer-lying classic Phoenix suburbia, for which we've used many times on the channel already. So I think we'll be okay just feeding them back into the system over this side, and then allowing this district, which I believe is a themed area, yes, Aspen District is, we can just allow the chosen theme residentials to develop back into these spaces and save some detailing opportunities at either side here as well. Allow it to merge into the park, some more walkable pathways, and I think everyone should be okay after the fact. However guys, that does feel like a wonderful place for a detailing time-lapse. We've got a bunch of work to do, which is mainly going to be prop detailing, to be totally honest. I want to bring in the sort of Phoenix forest, if you like, around the entire lake. Lots of very carefully and thoughtfully placed trees, while also doing some of the rock art that we've seen in Phoenix on the side of this embanked pathway. So we'll see what we can do with that. Bring in yet more park life assets just so we can see people actually coming to use this park, because of course if it's all props then the park will be dead, there'll be no one here. So some more thoughtful placements of those, and indeed detail up with hedges and planters around the entire park space, alongside perhaps some more campus arrangements. We'll see what buildings we can find and what we can squeeze in. Plenty of surface painter in and around the metro stops in order to work with the tram stop too, and then more prop detailing in and around these spaces just to help bring the public transport to real life a little bit. And just because we have it in Phoenix and it's kind of, you know, it looks a bit naked just on this side of it, I will bring in some more sort of generic outer lying suburbia stuff, just so we have something here to sit right in the foreground of the sort of friendship garden build. And then lots of service painter work in the condos, dropping some of our pools that we're so fond of. You know, if we have a little look at these now, we can come in for pools. Let's come ahead and just drop this one in, and then if we come in with service painter, just to hide it all. And then I think if we come up with, is it a high level deck chair, I think it's called? Yes, there we go, we are learning. There we go. So yeah, let's bring these down on a 5 meter curve with a 45-degree rotation. And then I think we can just wrap some sun lounges around the pool and have a little bit of sort of communal space for the people living in and around the condos, and we'll get some gazebos in here. And will it need lighting? Yes, and a light as well, because it's dark. So stuff like that in and around our condo complexes, you know, things that we've seen before. And then also tie in the outer lying sort of rural suburbia here. Well, not rural, but sort of more run down stuff in with the modern, and sort of blend these two areas together as authentically as possible, and probably bring some keys in this part of the downtown highway network, just so it's not exposed dirt, because it is kind of keyed in Phoenix. But either way, let's detail up the Lauren J Friendship Garden, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a detailing review. I've added in a bunch of planters around the central main node square. And at night time added in some floor lights, which really helps highlight the planters, almost like it's wired into the bottom of the planter itself. Really happy with that, came out super nicely. I've also re-exposed the train line from where we sank it down, so it now sinks into the ground a little earlier as it passes under the road network. And then just bordered it off with some chain link fencing, dropped in some benches and trees to create a bit of open, sort of seatable park space, I guess. A couple of little eatery buildings from Park Life, and then also the piggy train from the amusement park stuff too. Continue to play with some more condo assets and indeed just cut them up with some chain link fencing, and help to kind of carve up the concrete as well with a little bit of hedges, and then also thrown in a pool around the back side of it as well, alongside detailing the interiors of these condo blocks with more pool and gazebo detailing in the forecourt for the people to enjoy. Trimmed up the roads here and fed them into another node controlled network where the one-way system comes to an end over this side, which turned out quite nicely. Then also stole the exact tree pattern that sits in Phoenix in these central avenues, where we have repeated palms in the middle with a little statue with a repeated quad of palms, and then some nicer leafier green trees on the flanks. Lots of prop fence detailing and prop detailing around the front of the hotel, alongside the rock patterns that we wanted to sort of mimic from Phoenix. The vanilla rocks work really nicely for this, and then also brought in some of our favourite detail rocks around the base of the zoo asset. Also created a second smaller lake that just has a single pier on it without any lighting, and we'll check out the lighting around the lake in a second, whilst also hooking the path network into the mile grid cycleway and have allowed this to run parallel with the train line for a little bit. And what we're going to do on our next Ilos stream is continue to expand out this park through the mile grid, like the idea we discussed of having like a highway side park. We've also got a metro station that we can factor into that design too, so that should be quite fun. And then also plenty of prop detailing around the front of the park, including our favourite planter designs, and these little concrete shelters, of course, which we did in the episode. And then some more planters out front of the park gate too. And then we'll have a look at the nighttime view, just because of the lights, try and hide the skyline. But wonderful, right? Using the blue after dark lights around the entire perimeter of the lake. And then also place some green ones in at the foot of the rocks, and it just gives them a very slight illumination here, doesn't it, as you drive past it on the road into the city. So really happy with how all this turned out, and it's turned into a really fun little park build. However guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares below really help bring more people to my channel. If you'd like to help support the work, there are links down to Instant Gaming, Patreon and merchandise below. And equally as much, if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Really happy with how this area turned out, and it's nice to have Ilos' first sort of major green space in, and it's turned into a wonderful transition from this side of the mile grid up to the downtown from this angle, so really happy with it. And lots of public transport knocking around here too, with the trains coming and going from the transport hub, which is just across the road, plus the trams and the metro station that are in here now as well. So just more continued mega public transport convergence for Ilos. You hang around for the cinematics and check out this place at night time as always. It looks fantastic with the skyline behind it especially. Please do let me know what you think of it. Otherwise we'll shut up and we'll leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, enjoy the rest of your day.